The Vor chamber hung like a suspended crystal spine above the dim red dwarf, its vast interior shimmering with soft refracted starlight. Each beam fractured across thousands of angular surfaces, casting the assembled species in shifting patterns of color. The hall was silent at first, anticipatory, heavy, until High Chancellor Vorkul Draxus rose from his levitating throne and extended a clawed hand for quiet. "The matter of humanity," he announced, voice resonating through layered translators, "must be settled before the cycle turns." Rows of alien delegates murmured, their voices forming a low tremor that rolled beneath the Chancellor's rising tone. Holographs ignited between tiered seating platforms, displaying rotating projections of Earth, Sol's strategic layout, and the ruins of New Horizon, a once thriving colony reduced to an obsidian crater. Vorkul lifted his chin. "Our analysts have completed the final projections. When our fleets engage Sol, the human resistance will last no longer than 5 hours. Their defense grids are outdated. Their vessels lack regenerative armor. Their neural command systems remain slow and static. Their psychology," he paused, "unstable. Emotional. Predictable." An eruption of confident laughter echoed through the chamber. Clicks, hisses, mechanical bursts of sound. Species who had considered humanity a peripheral nuisance for centuries folded their limbs with smug satisfaction. The Council always preferred neat outcomes, and this one appeared mathematically certain. One delegate, a slender, crystalline entity, spoke through vibrating light pulses. "Chancellor, is this prediction absolute?" Vorkul's eyes narrowed with an air of triumph. "Every simulation confirms it. Humanity falls within hours. There is nothing anomalous remaining in their arsenal." Behind him, another projection appeared, the final transmission from New Horizon, an image burned into the minds of every delegate. A silent reminder of the price of human defiance. "Good," said one of the armored Drak generals. "Their destruction will stabilize the corridor trade routes." "Necessary," added a reptilian ambassador. "Their expansion has been too rapid for a minor species." Vorkul allowed their voices to build momentum before delivering the true motivation, the piece he had kept hidden behind diplomacy. "Human unpredictability threatens Council hegemony. Their capacity for adaptation is unprecedented. If ignored, they may rise beyond containment." His tone hardened. "Thus, extermination secures future order." The chamber erupted in unanimous approval. Across the galaxy, at the edge of Sol's protective perimeter, alarms blared through the armored corridors of the Sol Defense Command Citadel. Holographic interfaces flickered with live feeds tracking the oncoming Council armada. The Vortex Corridor, a violent hyperlane of turbulent gravitational pockets, lit up with signatures of colossal ships pushing through its unstable geometry. Commander Alara Thorne stood at the heart of the Citadel's command deck, surrounded by tactical displays swirling with constantly updating data. Her auburn hair was pulled into a tight, functional knot, and her dark uniform reflected faint blue pulses from the console she studied with unblinking concentration. Behind her, officers rushed from station to station, coordinating fleet mobilization. Stress crackled in the air like static. Yet Alara's expression remained composed, carved from discipline and a quiet resolve hardened over years of service. A young officer approached with wide, uneasy eyes. "Commander, the Council fleet has breached the corridor's threshold. Their numbers exceed early projections." "Define exceed," she said without turning. 7 dreadnought clusters, 4,000 escorts, and multiple carrier lines. Expected." The officer hesitated. "Ma'am, their analysts predict we won't last." "I've seen their predictions," she replied, voice like tempered steel. "Their models assume we fight with only what they understand." She dismissed him gently with a nod and activated a secured channel. A reinforced blast door slid open behind her, revealing a deep-lit chamber descending into the core of the citadel. The air hummed with a faint vibration, as though some unseen force stirred beneath the structure. She stepped inside, her boots echoing softly through the descending passage. The chamber at the bottom was spherical, lined with interlocking quantum plates glowing with fractal currents. Suspended at the center was the chronolance, a construct of shimmering, translucent alloy containing a swirling lattice of impossible geometry. Time appeared to bend slightly around its silhouette, warping the peripheral field. Dr. Rowland, chief engineer of the project, turned toward her. "Commander, the lance is stabilized for initial deployment. But I must warn you, its temporal resonance will strain your neural interface." Elara approached the structure, studying the flowing, crystalline veins of energy pulsing within. "I'll manage." "You say that every time," Rowland muttered nervously. "This is different. The Council fleet is enormous. The temporal load will be heavy." Elara rested a gloved hand near the temporal interface. "If we don't use it, 5 hours becomes 5 minutes. Humanity won't have a second chance." Rowland exhaled, defeated. "Your sync window is ready. The system will respond to your command only." "Good. Keep it stable." She stepped back as the temporal field shifted, casting ghost-like reflections around her. For a moment, she imagined the faces she once knew, her family on New Horizon, laughing beneath foreign sunlight. Then the memory twisted into fire and silent light, and the emptiness that followed sharpened her resolve. The Council believed humanity fought out of panic, but Elara's drive was carved from loss, not desperation. That difference mattered. It created purpose. She turned and climbed back toward the command deck. When she emerged, the deck had grown darker. Earth's defense fleets formed a perimeter around the blue planet, their hulls catching glints of sunlight as they maneuvered into precise formations. Dozens of smaller ships joined them, their movements synchronized through encrypted tactical networks. Captain Idris joined her at the command platform. "Council ships will exit the corridor in 3 minutes. They're broadcasting demands for unconditional surrender. Record the transmission," she said. "But we won't be replying." Idris smirked. "Wouldn't expect anything less." The entire deck's lights dimmed as the vortex corridor ruptured open on the main screen, an expanding storm of violet and white energy. Council dreadnoughts pierced through one by one, metal giants emerging from the swirling chaos. Their armored surfaces glowed with weapon ports already charging. Officers inhaled sharply, stunned by the sheer scale. Elara's voice cut through the tension. "Activate temporal alignment. Hold positions until my mark." "Yes, Commander." Static crackled across the comms as alien voices declared humanity's final hour, but Elara ignored them. Her gaze stayed fixed on the screen, analyzing trajectories, pacing, energy signatures. She saw flaws in their formation, overconfidence woven into every maneuver. "They think they've already won," Idris murmured. "Everyone who thinks that," she replied softly, "always makes the same mistake." On the screen, the first enemy salvo ignited, columns of incandescent plasma streaking toward Earth's defensive line. Elara raised her hand. "Begin timeline fracture," she ordered. The chronolance activated beneath the citadel. And reality trembled. The first alien salvo crossed the void in a blazing arc, wide, bright, and devastating. Every officer on the Sol Defense Command deck braced for the incoming shockwave. Yet the expected impact never arrived. The plasma bolts elongated, warped, and bent away as if pulled into invisible currents. Space itself shivered. The chronolance had awakened. A deep, resonant pulse rippled outward from beneath the citadel, invisible to the naked eye yet immeasurably powerful. Ships flickered with faint temporal halos, their outlines briefly duplicating. Human destroyers multiplied into faint afterimages that shifted positions by microseconds, each echo carrying a different potential action. Elara Thorne inhaled sharply as the temporal interface linked with her mind. Thousands of fragmented possibilities unfurled across her perception, forming a layered, three-dimensional mosaic of potential outcomes. Every heartbeat felt split into dozens of alternate sequences. A voice from the AI resonated inside her skull. "Temporal sync initiated. Neural strain rising. Proceed with caution. Maintain balance," she whispered. "Lock phase alignment." At once, the echoes stabilized. Distorted versions of the same destroyer snapped into coordinated precision. To the Council's sensors, the human fleet appeared to have multiplied into a chaotic swarm. Captain Idris stared at the shifting monitor. Commander, we're everywhere at once. Exactly where we need to be, Elara replied. Across the vacuum, Council admirals struggled to interpret the impossible phenomenon. On the flagship Vericten, Admiral HFY slammed his claws against his console. Explain this anomaly, he barked. Our telemetry shows multiple human fleets. An engineer screeched back. Impossible. They're overlapping their own signatures. It's temporal. Something is distorting causality. Then counter it. They're shifting faster than we can calculate. Before the Council could regroup, Elara issued her first offensive command. Phase wings 1 through 10, execute divergent strike pattern. Fire on my signal. Human ships shimmered. Some remained in the present timeline, others slipped into side fragments, slightly ahead or behind reality. In perfect synchronization, they fired. From the Council's point of view, blasts erupted from impossible angles, some strikes arriving before their sensors detected origin points. Shields collapsed instantly. 3 enemy cruisers ruptured, spilling incandescent debris into the corridor. A hush fell over the command deck as the results displayed. Officers stared at the visuals stunned. Idris whispered, "We hit them before they saw us move." "That's the point," Elara said. "Keep advancing." The chronolance deepened its resonance, pushing her further into the fractured lattice of timelines. Strain tightened behind her eyes. Each breath felt layered with echoes of breaths taken in alternate outcomes. The sensation was dizzying yet empowering, dangerous yet intoxicating. On the Council flagship, panic spread. Commanders shouted over each other. "Recalibrate targeting! Predict their trajectory! Our systems are failing! Those aren't duplicates, they're temporal phantoms!" Vorkul Draxus snarled through the comlink from the distant capital. "Regain control! Humanity does not possess temporal warfare!" Admiral HFY trembled. "Chancellor, their weapon is beyond our predictive models. We can't." Vorkul cut him off. "Then adapt." But adaptation required imagination, and the Council had spent centuries depending on rigid logic. Elara exploited this flaw mercilessly. "Shift the grid," she ordered. "Echo patterns alpha through delta." The human fleet dissolved into a maze of temporal splinters. Destroyers swirled around the alien clusters, each echo moving half a second out of sync with the others. For the first time in galactic warfare, causality became a battlefield. A chorus of overlapping human salvos erupted. Alien dreadnoughts convulsed under synchronized strikes. Plasma conduits burst, spilling molten metal. Reactor chambers imploded with silent flashes. Council formations scattered, trying desperately to form a defensive perimeter. It was useless. Their computations froze mid-cycle, unable to process the multiplicity of human trajectories. Elara pressed deeper into the temporal field. Sweat formed along her hairline as the neural interface surged. The AI's tone grew sharper. "Commander, your cognitive levels are spiking dangerously. Temporal bleed-through detected." She steadied her breathing. "I can handle it. Prolonged exposure may cause irreversible." "Not now," she said through clenched teeth. More echoes appeared, this time flickering closer to her own perspective. She caught glimpses of outcomes where she hesitated, others where she pushed too far. She forced all of them aside and fixed her mind on the singular path that preserved the fleet. "Bring us within inner range," she ordered. Idris hesitated. "Inside their formation? That's too tight. Exactly why they won't expect it." The fleet surged forward, phasing through chronal distortions and slipping between volleys meant to annihilate them. They emerged inside the densest part of the enemy armada. Alien captains shouted in panic. "They breached our core! Impossible! Our sensors didn't register! Fire everything!" A hail of frantic plasma fire streaked through the void, but half the blasts struck temporal echoes instead of actual targets. Human ships weaved between their own afterimages, moving like coordinated phantoms. Elara delivered the decisive blow. "Converge all beams. Eliminate their command spine. A brilliant lattice of energy erupted from the human cruisers, slicing through the central dreadnoughts. The Council's tactical backbone snapped in an instant. Their ships faltered, then drifted without direction. But Vorkul, watching through a distant secure channel, ordered their last resort. "Deploy the Rift Maw!" Gasps echoed across the Council ships. Even the bravest officers recoiled. The Rift Maw, a gravity-tier cannon capable of shredding reality, had been forbidden by the Council for centuries. Yet desperation erased restraint. A glowing maw of distorted light opened behind the alien formation, pulling matter and radiation into its swirling jaws. Idris' eyes widened. "Commander, if that hits us..." "It won't." Elara extended her hand toward the chronolance interface. "Temporal displacement. Full spectrum. Now." The chronolance surged with violent brilliance. The fleet vanished from normal time for 3 seconds, long enough for the Rift Maw's unleashed vortex to slam back into its own firing line. The alien dreadnoughts ahead collapsed into spirals of broken metal. The Maw destabilized, consuming its operators in a crushing implosion. Silence fell across the battlefield. Elara opened a channel to all Council frequencies. Her voice remained steady, controlled, mercilessly calm. "You predicted 5 hours. I will end this in minutes." Her words struck the alien fleets like a physical blow. Morale shattered. Ships tried to scatter, run, hide, anything to escape the impossible force humanity had unleashed. The human counteroffensive resumed, carving through what remained of the invading armada. Explosions dotted the void like collapsing stars. But Elara felt her strength wane. Colors blurred. Echoes whispered from branching timelines. The AI's warnings softened into distant echoes. Then her knees buckled. Idris caught her as she collapsed. "Commander!" The chronolance flickered, destabilizing without her control. "Medical! Now!" he shouted. As she slipped into unconsciousness, the last thing she heard was the AI's fading voice. "One more cycle will destroy you." The medical bay hummed with quiet machinery, each pulse synchronized with Elara Thorne's fluctuating neural readings. A soft blue glow washed across the stasis pod where she lay suspended, unconscious but stabilized. Temporal residues shimmered faintly around her, ghost-like flickers that distorted the light in delicate ripples. Doctors monitored her vitals with tense focus. None dared speak above a whisper. The chronolance had pushed her beyond safe limits, and fragments of alternate pathways still clung to her neural signature. Even unconscious, she seemed to drift between microseconds. When her eyes finally opened, she exhaled sharply, grounding herself as the world realigned. A medic stepped forward immediately. "Commander, stay still. Your mind is still adjusting." Elara pressed a hand against her forehead, feeling phantom echoes fade. "How long was I out?" 30 minutes, the medic replied. "Your neural interface shows significant temporal scars. One more deployment could..." Elara swung her legs over the side of the pod. "We don't have time for warnings." "That's not what I meant," he insisted. "You could lose cognitive grounding, permanently." She steadied herself, breathing in the sterile air. "If the fleet waits, we lose everything. The next strike will decide the war." Across the galaxy, inside the fortified Vor system, High Chancellor Vorkul Draxus stood before his panicked surviving commanders. The chamber trembled with discordant voices, fear, shame, desperation spilling from every species present. Vorkul silenced them with a thunderous slam of his staff. "Compose yourselves!" Admiral HFY, visibly shaken, forced out the report. "Our first armada has been annihilated. Humanity used temporal manipulation, something we believed impossible. The Rift Maw failed. We've lost our primary offensive capability." Delegates erupted into furious debate. Vorkul's mandibles tightened. "Retreat is not an option. The Council's authority hinges on our response. We rally what remains and crush them before word spreads." "Chancellor," another commander protested. "They turned causality into a weapon. We cannot predict them." "Then we strike where prediction is irrelevant," Vorkul hissed. "At Vor. Inside the gravitational anomaly. Their weapon may falter there. It was a desperate gamble, but it was all he had left. Elara returned to the command deck, supported for a moment by Captain Idris before regaining her balance. Officers straightened as she approached the platform. Idris spoke quietly. "We've tracked the remnants of the Council fleet. Vorkul regrouped near Vor. They're waiting inside a gravity storm. It's a trap." "Good," Elara said. "Good?" Idris blinked. "Commander, the anomaly could disrupt the chronolance. And your condition?" "I'll endure," she said. "Prepare the fleet." He hesitated. "This could kill you." Elara met his gaze. "If humanity survives, the cost is acceptable." A moment of silence passed, respect and fear interwoven, before Idris nodded. "Understood." The human fleet entered the Vor system cautiously. The star glowed with unstable light, radiating streams of fluctuating gravity waves that rippled through the battlefield like convulsing tides. The Council fleet waited within the anomaly's heart, forming a dense, defensive web. Vorkul appeared on a general broadcast, his voice razor-edged. "Humans! You have defied natural law. For that you will vanish." Elara cut into the open channel. "You destroyed New Horizon. You tried to erase us. Now you face the consequences." Vorkul snarled. "Your tricks end today. This anomaly will collapse your weapon. We'll see." She ended the transmission. The chronolance trembled as technicians synchronized it with the gravitational storm. Sparks danced across its crystalline plates. The device strained, pushing against a field designed to tear temporal structures apart. "Commander," the AI warned, voice tight, "gravitational distortion destabilizes sync alignment. Probability of neural collapse exceeds safe." "Override," Elara said. "Link me in." Confirmed, reluctantly. As the interface connected, a violent surge shot through her senses. This time the timelines didn't unfold smoothly, they clashed and collided, creating chaotic waves of potential futures. She gritted her teeth, forcing her mind into the storm's rhythm. "Fleet," she whispered. "Hold formation. When I give the signal, strike across all vectors." Idris relayed the command. Human ships tightened into a spearhead, their hulls shimmering with temporal flickers. Vorkul's voice rose across the Council flagship. "Fire!" Alien cannons lit the void in a synchronized assault, beams bending through the anomaly's chaotic waves. For a moment, it seemed overwhelming. Then Elara's voice cut through the storm. "Now!" The chronolance stabilized for a fraction of a second, just long enough. Time fractured. Not into clean echoes, but into thousands of jagged shards. Each shard carried a different movement, a different angle, a different strike, all converging with lethal accuracy. Human ships surged forward like a storm of spectral phantoms. The Council fleet never had a chance. Their targeting systems struggled to discern real ships from temporal shadows. Blasts collided with empty trajectories. Human fire tore through their formations with surgical precision. Each Council vessel struck fell silent within seconds, its hull collapsing under the temporal cascade. Vorkul watched in horror as the impossible unfolded yet again, this time amplified by the very anomaly he believed would protect him. "This cannot be!" he roared. "Reality itself bends for them?" Admiral XYR's voice cracked. "Chancellor, they're hitting us from future echoes, past echoes, everything at once." A concentrated burst from 3 overlapping timelines pierced Vorkul's flagship. Systems failed instantly. The hull groaned before splitting open in a flash of white-blue radiance. His final words came through garbled static. "Humans, we're never in the equations." Then his signal vanished. With the Council fleet shattered, silence fell across the battlefield. Temporal dust drifted through the anomaly, fading slowly as the chronolance powered down. Elara released the interface, collapsing to one knee. Idris rushed to her side. "Elara! Can you hear me?" She steadied her breath. "It's done." The AI's voice softened. "Chronolance core has stabilized. Temporal bleed contained. You remain intact, Commander. She almost smiled. Good. Let's head home. Earth erupted in celebration as the fleet returned through the corridor. Entire continents lit the night sky with synchronized flares and luminescent formations. Broadcasts poured across the networks as humanity learned the truth. The war predicted to last hours had ended in minutes. Alara stood at the Citadel's observation deck, gazing at the curve of Earth below. Idris approached quietly. Council transmissions have ceased, he said. Dozens of species request alliances. They fear what we've become. We didn't become something new, Alara replied. We revealed what was always there. He studied her expression. What now? She looked toward the horizon, where dawn began to break. Now we rebuild. And we remember. Later, she walked through the memorial chamber. The holographic depiction of New Horizon shimmered before her. Lush forests, crystalline seas, families laughing beneath twin moons. The image shifted to the colony's final moments, then dimmed. Alara placed a hand against the cool surface. You didn't vanish without justice, she whispered. Her reflection trembled faintly, subtle reminders of temporal scars she carried now, but her resolve held firm. Humanity had entered a new era. The galaxy would never underestimate them again.